That's embarrassing, but it was so beautiful looking out the window. And I was standing up.
I know. So Ameren, would you like to walk us through S106?
Certainly. S106 is an act relating to the live stream of legislative proceedings of the General Assembly and lobbying regulations. Section 1 creates a pilot project to live stream legislative proceedings. The Office of Legislative Information Technology shall facilitate and coordinate a pilot project with a for-profit or nonprofit entity to assist and assess the effectiveness and cost of audio and video live streaming the legislative proceedings of the General Assembly. The pilot project shall include the live stream by audio and video means of all public proceedings of standing committees of both chambers and on the floors of the House of Representatives and the Senate during the 2022 legislative session. Section 2 is concerning lobbying regulations. The first section is legislative findings, which you heard a little bit about from Senator Sorotkin. Lobbyists fulfill an important role in the legislative process by ensuring that the perspectives of organizations, interest groups, and stakeholders are heard. However, as the number of lobbyists who work in the State House has increased, it's become more difficult for legislators, staff, press, and members of the public to know who is a lobbyist and who they may be representing. As a result, some members of the public may have the perception that there is a lack of transparency as to who is working as a lobbyist and for whom. Encouraging every lobbyist to wear identification that clearly indicates the lobbyist's name and the name of the client or firm will improve transparency and promote public trust in the legislative process. Section 3, lobbyist identification. When the General Assembly is in session, a lobbyist, as defined in Title II, Section 261, is encouraged to wear a name tag or another form of identification that is clearly visible and that states the lobbyist's name, the lobbyist's client or employer, or in cases where the lobbyist represents more than one client or employer, the name of the lobbyist's firm. And the identification must be substantially similar in size, format, and information displayed to a sample name tag or identification that shall be developed by the Sergeant at Arms. Subsection B, the Sergeant at Arms and the Office of Legislative Counsel shall report to the General Assembly on or before January 15th, 2023 on the rate of compliance by lobbyists with this section, the advantages and disadvantages of requiring that lobbyists wear name tags or identification, and a recommendation as to whether a voluntary program is sufficient or whether further legislative action to improve participation should be considered. In preparing the report, the Sergeant at Arms and the Office of Legislative Counsel shall solicit input from lobbyists, legislators, staff of the General Assembly, and other stakeholders. The effective date of this act is July 1st, 2021.
Any questions for Ameren? I do have a question about what on earth does it mean to do a pilot? Do you know that, or was that something that came from the sponsors?
It came from the sponsors. This legislation actually has been in 2 prior bills over the years, I believe once in 2015 and then maybe once in 2017 as well, the idea of a pilot. And my understanding from those prior bills and the brief information I have on this bill is that a pilot is really a temporary to see how it goes for 1 year and then evaluate whether it's worth making a permanent change.
So what does it mean with a for-profit or nonprofit? The pilot is with them. I don't understand that.
Right. So the idea is that the state would contract with an entity who would help the state help the legislature really evaluate the feasibility of doing live streaming, cost, efficiencies, and that would be the entity that would. So it's talking about, I guess it's intended to give flexibility as to who the legislature contracts with to provide these services.
You know, it could be the public access television. They might come up with a I mean, that's a nonprofit.
But-
I guess that's-
But we're all, okay, anyway, I have some serious concerns about this, but Senator Collimore?
I want to follow up on your question, Madam Chair, because I'm not clear either. And maybe it's unfair for us to ask Ameren, but if a pilot project indicates that there's already going to be something going on in terms of a program before we've even figured out how much it costs, I think that's a matter of concern. If this said that that the pilot project would happen after we had determined from either a profit or nonprofit group how much this was going to cost, I could understand that. But this seems to indicate that we're going to go ahead and do it and then try to figure out what the cost is. And I'm also concerned about that. And I just had a quick one for Will. I think I already know the answer, and I know we're not supposed to ask questions. I already know the answer. But lobbyist is defined, I believe, where did I just see that? Oh, Brian. Well, anyway, it cites Title II. Am I guessing that means that that a lobbyist has to be registered with the Secretary of State's office before this would take place? In other words, if somebody was recently hired but not yet registered, they wouldn't have to wear a name badge, according to the way this is written.
Will, do you want to answer that?
That's right, because it ties it to that definition in Title II.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Clarkson?
Well, in a funny way, we've had the pilot. We've
Right.
had the pilot all year. Actually, it'll be 2 years, a year and a half. It'll be 18 months of this pilot. Albeit a pilot that, because it has not had to involve installing cameras in the State House or anything, that is a lot less expensive. I don't think we need a pilot here. I think we know the answer to a lot of this. And what we do need, to go to Brian's point, is we need a sense of what it would cost to actually accomplish this, and then we can weigh it. So I think we just need to, I think we've all appreciated the value of being able to have the public present at watching our proceedings, able to testify if necessary without having to drive 3 hours round trip to testify. We get that. I think we need to know the cost and the feasibility and how long it would take to roll it out. I think those are the questions, really, more than a pilot.
So my thought was that a committee could certainly begin to take that testimony and
Yeah.
try and figure it out and get a cost estimate from JFO and from the legislative IT
Yeah.
office, and start working on the details of how it might be, how we might roll it out.
Our committee could do that. I mean, I
Right.
think that actually we exist to do exactly that, except
Right.
it would be obviously the sergeant at arms who runs the mechanics of the building would obviously be involved. But
Right.
heavens, we're pretty clear on the need, the interest, how it's great. And we just now need to figure out what we can afford, if we want to do it in stages, all that kind of stuff.
And I don't know that we need to contract with a for-profit or nonprofit to tell us the results.
No, I think we know
That's
the
money
results
ill
of-
spent.
but we probably would need to do an RFP to find a contractor whose results, we'd want to do a bid on it once we figured out what we wanted. So,
Well, for equipment and stuff like that. But
yeah.
not
The design
for them to tell us whether it worked or not.
No, we know it works.
Right.
We know that the live streaming of our work has been a very efficient, great opportunity for the public to have access to our work, great opportunity for people to not have to drive and,
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
So I think that my feeling on this is that we work with the Rules Committee and the Joint Rules Committee to look at this further instead of setting up a pilot. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Ready to rock and roll on it.
Senator Collimore?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I agree. I mean, we already have the ability for the general public to hear our floor sessions in both chambers. We don't need to do anything more there. except I guess if you wanted a video,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure what that adds. I guess it does. I just want to comment on the other part of the bill, and if it stayed the way it was now, I would ask to divide the question, because we've already had Senator Sirotkin in the past introduce legislation about the lobbyist IDs, and I guess until we're ready to do that for ourselves and walk around wearing name tags, I still have an aversion to telling somebody else what to do in that regard. I know the House members have them, and that's fine, but I've never not known who the lobbyists in the room were. I don't think it takes too long to figure that out. So, yeah.
The chair can always ask who's in the room and get an answer. And interestingly enough, a female lobbyist today sent me a note about this and said that this actually is going to be much harder for female lobbyists to abide by, because men wear these nice little jackets and they can just put a little thing on there, but we wear scarves and silk blouses. And so anyway, I hadn't ever thought about that. Senator Clarkson?
On the other hand, let's be consistent. We're talking about transparency with our live streaming, transparency for all of us as to who we are. I mean, the public doesn't know who I am when I'm walking down the hall. I think actually it would be great if senators wore name tags. They could be discreet. They don't need to be big, huge mega things. But I actually think I've always supported this idea. And it's not just because I'm a former House member, because in the House I never wore a name tag. But we also have magnetic ones. There are lots of ways to deal with this. I think if we're talking about transparency, we need to own it, not just with live streaming, but also with declaring who you are, because lots of people don't know who we are when we wander around in the State House. And
I can tell you that I don't know. Last year, I didn't know who most of the House members were, even though they had on their name tags, because you have to get your nose right down in their shirt in order to read them. So it still isn't helpful. I mean, people, unless you had orange name tags for lobbyists and green name tags for senators and red name tags for, you still wouldn't know.
Well, but that might be something the Sergeant at Arms is thinking of, actually. That would be a great idea, because then you would know who was a member of the General Assembly, who wasn't, who was a lobbyist, who was an intern, who was an
advocate.
And the fine line between advocacy and lobbying.
Pay.
Right. Oh no, I'm clear on it.
So anyway. All right. So thank you. Are there any other questions for Ameren or Will?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So Senator Polina, did you have to feed a turtle?
Well, I do in a couple of minutes. I have a couple of minutes.
Okay. All right. Any more questions or comments for Ameren or Will? Thank you, Will.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, Will. Goodbye, Ameren.
Because I thought you wanted to talk about priorities for a minute.
Yep. I did. So where are we here, committee?
Oh, let me pull up your list. Hold on. It requires pulling up the list.
We haven't heard yet from a lot of the bills. So I just have a question about H-151. That's the one that deals with mausoleums. Did you look at that when I was out of it that week?
Yes.
Okay.
We did briefly.
Okay. All right. So I guess my question is, do we have enough? Do you feel comfortable enough that you have enough information on that one to move forward with it, to vote on it? Or do you need more testimony? I
forget what it was.
Huh?
I forget what the other parts of the bill were.
I wasn't there, so I didn't hear.
I know I was. I still can't remember.
I can't remember
Okay.
why it's needed, but I do remember the difference between a mausoleum and a columbarium. That's all I
Yeah.
remember from that.
I know, I do too. I can tell you the difference, but I don't know anything more about the bill.
All right, well, we're probably not ready to vote on it then.
Oh. We
But I
probably ought
walked-
to have the state registrar in, because part of this has to do with that.
Right.
You mean the archivist?
Well, the language says the state registrar
I,
may authorize the issuance of certified birth or death certificates.
Oh, right. It was about, right.
okay,
Yeah.
I guess we'll get more testimony on that one. How about 135? Are we familiar, are we okay with?
Boards and
do we need
commissions?
more? That's the ethics technical changes. Do we need more on that, or are we ready to vote on that?
I think we could vote on it.
Yeah, I don't think we need much more on that.
Keisha?
Yeah.
Brian?
Satisfied.
I'm fine voting on it.
Okay. How about the Berry charter change?
We still haven't had Rob Leclerc come in.
He doesn't need to, he said.
No? Okay.
No.
Did
But
we
are
want-
we ready to have we heard enough on that one? Are we ready to vote on that?
Can someone just remind me, given all that's in my brain about crossover, can somebody just remind me? It was pretty modest technical changes about, appointing people and oral, right? I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't have it in front of me, but I was ready to vote it out that day, so.
Yeah, I recall the same thing. It's nothing compared to the Montpelier charter change, which is significant.
Right.
So I thought Barry voted that they couldn't have flags besides the American flag flown on municipal property. Is that
Yeah.
not?
That's not in the charter, is it?
I don't
No.
know.
Huh?
Okay.
I
No,
thought
it's not.
it was.
No, I don't think that was in their charter change.
Okay.
No, it was
I-
not.
There was a flag issue that we discussed, though.
I don't remember any flag issue.
Not when I was here.
When we
What's the Barry number again, Senator White?
177,
127.
127?
177.
177.
No, one, oh. okay.
127 is the ethics.
127, yeah, is the ethics technical changes.
No, 177 is the Montpelier charter.
One
Oh,
twenty,
okay. It's 127 then. Oh, I see you. So some places you have the numbers after and some places you have the numbers before.
well, there should be a semicolon in between things, but
You-
127 is the Berry charter.
Right.
Mhm.
Do we have issues with it?
Not that I recall.
I don't remember what it was, but I don't think there were any issues with it.
I'm open.
Yeah.
It had to do with allowing an assistant town clerk to oversee an election, that kind of a thing.
Right, it was pretty
It
modest.
separated the clerk and the treasurer.
Yeah,
Right.
Yep.
I don't remember anything standing out. I think we could vote that out.
I agree.
and whatever the flag issue was not in their charter change. They may have voted.
Yes,
At
I
the select
think
board
town
meeting?
meeting they did or something, because we
Well,
discussed it.
their city council had a big argument about why they didn't want to fly the Black Lives Matter sign. And then somebody said, well, if you're going to do that, you have to do this one, this other flag, and then this other flag, and this other flag. So they came to some weird agreement about certain flags being able to go up the flagpole on certain times, but it's nothing for us to worry about. It was an argument that they had amongst themselves. It was really unfortunate, but
So yeah, I just skimmed through the Barry charter change and didn't see anything that wasn't technical, like the clerk and assessor.
Yeah, I didn't think so. All right, so I think we're ready to. Oh, that's H 127. Yeah, I looked up S 127. H1, yeah, okay. And then on H 122, I'm going to throw in a zinger here. It should be pretty pro forma. It's the boards and commissions bill. But when the boards and commissions committee, or whatever we're called, met, one of the things that we had put in there last year was to eliminate the State Board of Education.
Right.
And the House, well, there was some discussion on it. And in the meantime, Senate Education, headed by Senator Baruth, worked with the State Board of Education and the Agency of Education to get the duties and responsibilities of the board and the agency kind of in statute in line with what is current practice and what they need to do. So it was a complete rewrite of the statutes, and everybody was in agreement on it. So the Boards and Commissions Committee put that into the bill, that whole bill that the Senate passed that the House didn't take up. The House took it out and said that they were going to spend more time on it. So I just had an email conversation with John Carroll, who's the head of the Board of Education, and he has been working with the House Education Committee, and they want to set up a summer study committee to look at this. My suggestion is that we put back the Senate bill back into the Boards and Commissions bill and send it back to the House.
And that's to eliminate the board.
No. What it is the State Board and the Agency of Education worked really closely with Philip Baruth's committee last session,
Right.
and came up with a rewrite. No, it doesn't
Okay.
eliminate it, but it makes it clear that these are the responsibilities of the board and these are the responsibilities of the agency. And right now, the statutes are completely non-reflective of what in reality should be.
Right. Okay.
Is that something that you feel Senator Campion should be in on?
I sent him a note and he's going to bring it up with his committee by the end of the week.
Okay, so we won't vote out the boards and commissions until
We
hear
won't
back.
vote that out until, but I just wanted you to be aware that because it has been 2 years now that the House Education Committee has not done anything on this issue, and it really, really needs to be done. And Senator Baruth's committee did a really good job of working with everybody to come up with a good bill. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Sounds good.
All right,
I
so
think it's turtle time.
it is turtle time.
Yeah, I guess so.
How much do you feed your turtle every day?
Well, I don't, when I say I'm going to feed him, what I really do is I let him outside. We stroll around.
Oh, do you have a little
kinda
leash for him?
Well, kind of. He grazes.
I like the pace at which he walks.
Yes.
So,
Okay, committee, I guess we're all saying goodbye then. So I'm
No,
gonna turn off the live stream.